and I was an idiot.
Could have told you that.
And I forgot to unmute myself. I just did the entire intro without unmuting myself.
You know what? We're just gonna start, and we're just gonna mock you like relentlessly for that whole thing. That was amazing, man. Well done.
Actually did the whole thing. Like
The entire intro while muted.
The entire
You
intro
guys could
beat-
hear me, but I forgot to turn it off because I turned it off when we do the countdown. I don't turn myself off. I don't mute myself when we do the regular countdown. But anyways, so
There we go. That's what you
we
do.
have all of our regular subjects for today. So let's just do the intro. We're going to do the intro video, and then I'm going to discuss what's going to happen tonight. And Danny can stop clapping like a jackass.
Slow clap.
Here we go.
Me and Jackass, when you did the whole intro without any sound. Yeah. Let's go with that. No high ground for you, sir.
All right. So, welcome to our third open mic night where we discuss anything and everything our guests want to discuss and, of course, talk about the relevant topics of the day.
It is open.
So, for those who are watching, for those who want to participate, our Discord link is in our Twitch stream. It's also, I believe, on the description of our Kicks chat. So you can... I will quickly check that, so might have some... Let's see. Is it in... No, it is not. I will link the Discord so that people can join our server, join our conversation, and you can be a part of it and you can have your voice heard. So here you go.
You know what?
Here's our Discord.
I had an idea,
Yes.
and maybe in the future what we can do is what's his name? Jeremy from the Quartering. He now puts when he does his live streams
Yep.
and where, but you could also put join our Discord stream at bam.
Mm-hmm. Well, I've been doing that. I've been doing that on Twitter. I will not say X yet.
No. But on the the screen you have you can find us on YouTube, BitChute, Rumble.
Yeah.
You can put it on
Oh, I could. Well,
there.
but the problem is that you need the specific Discord link.
Yes, you do. But basically, you can find the link here, and we can find a way to make it
Yeah.
easier to find.
Wait a minute,
Okay,
why don't you guys just put the link on your guys' Twitch channel, honestly?
Yeah.
Well, it is.
The link is on the Discord link is on the Kicks.
It's on the it's on the Kick chat. But it should be also in the description.
Well, it's not in the description, but they got 3 links there. One to your Twitter, your YouTube, and your Discord.
Oh yeah, because I did link that.
Okay.
And yeah, it is the Shrewd Dudes guest channel. So yes, on Kick, you can just click on Discord, and that is an automatic link to join our Discord server.
That's pretty cool.
So yeah,
Technology is amazing,
it can be. It can truly be amazing.
especially when it works.
All right.
All right, buddy. You ready to go? Let's do this.
Yes.
So first of all, we should introduce the
our frequent recurring guests.
the co-hosts.
Because apparently there aren't too many people who want to participate in an open mic night.
It's amazing how many people don't want to do that.
I know, it's like, why don't you want to have your voice heard? Come on.
My favorite thing was when we used to go to freedom rallies. We used to walk around with a massive crowd of a couple thousand people, and then I hear some kind of a discussion, debate, or fight happening outside, on the sidewalk somewhere, and I'd be walking with Steven, I'm like, I'll see you later. I'm like, just run
you
over.
just disappeared.
Oh yeah, I want to get into those debates. I'm the person that runs into the fire, not the fire.
Yeah, I like.
Would you
debating
say you're the
online, but-
master debater?
I am such a master debater.
He's also a master of humility.
Mm-hmm. I sure am. Steven apparently had the best debate today with somebody on.
Oh yes, okay.
Incredible.
All right, I will show that on the screen, just because it was that funny.
Credit where credit is due. It was good.
It was good.
This will be part of the "How was your week" kind of segment.
Yeah, and I have to share my screen anyway, so.
You forgot to do that. My goodness.
So there, I'm sharing my screen. And I'm sharing them. Am I sharing the right? Yes, I'm sharing the right screen.
No.
So, this is a conversation I had.
Is this possible to put this on the main screen on the stream? Okay.
Already working on it.
All right, he's gotten there. He's getting there, people. He's trying to redeem himself.
Trying to redeem myself. Okay, so this conversation.
It was really good.
So, anyways, oh yeah, this was. So it started off. I believe, with a Matt Walsh thing, and so it kind of went on. Yeah. And this one woman, there should be consequences for misogyny. I'm like, that's very authoritarian. No, it's safeguarding women and girls from misogynistic violence. And who determines what is misogyny? Seems like you just want to punish conservative men for having contrary opinion. Men wanting to control women's bodies and life is misogyny. Conservatives and progressive do it. And I should have said preventing abortion, but I just said abortion is about controlling anyone. It's about protecting human life. Do you believe pro-life is misogynistic? And this person put in a quote. 5 decades of work. It's strange when you think about it, because if men were actually interested in reducing abortion, it didn't need to take 50 years. At any point, men could have eliminated elective abortions in a very short amount of time, a matter of weeks, without ever touching an abortion law, without legislating about women's bodies, without even mentioning women. All men had to do was ejaculate responsibly. They chose not to. Today, they continue to choose not to. My response, ma'am, that's called abstinence, something we have advocated for decades. You're welcome.
That's called the king own right there. King own.
Mm-hmm. I thought it was funny. I thought it was just hilarious.
I thought it was really good.
Yes. But let's go into this week in satire. And then we can continue the laughter. Owning the libs, indeed. Owning the libs hard.
Gotta own them.
So, this week in satire. Let's jump into the first one, because the second one will lead into our rant of the week. Hunter Biden plea deal falls through after bribery check bounces. According to sources, Hunter Biden's plea deal fell through in court today after his bribery check to the judge bounced due to insufficient funds. We are disappointed with the judge's decision. We were confident things would be made right once another transfer from Ukraine clears in one of Hunter Biden's offshore accounts, said Biden's legal team. This is just a minor hiccup. At publishing time, anonymous sources had confirmed this afternoon's Coke and Hookers plea deal celebration had become a Coke and Hookers strategy session.
Definitely took place in the White House, too.
And this, because this story was short, we have a second one. Transgender women's soccer player outed on free kick. So NCAA women's soccer fell into controversy this week when during a match a trans player was outed during a free kick. The player, who goes by Gerlina McWoman, is currently under investigation. Our suspicions first arose when the muscle-bound player took position to block a free kick and placed his her hands in front of the crotch area, said an NCAA special soccer investigator. Years of training have taught us women don't do that. Men do. Investigators said their evidence solidified after the free kick actually nailed McWoman in the crotch, causing the player to let out a shriek and crumple in pain. Ow! My inner thigh! It stings!
Your outer vagina! Your outer vagina stings!
Yes. McWoman yelled while confused teammates just told her to walk it off. It all fell into place at that point, said the investigator. This player had testicles, a conclusion reinforced by the player's beard and the tattoo that reads, Biff loves soccer. At publishing time, Gerlina McWoman had been cleared of all suspicion and allowed to participate in college soccer after telling investigators he identified as a woman.
Oh, there you go. Problem solved.
Problem solved. Problem
all
solved.
Over. I mean, I'm glad that it's that easy. It really is that easy.
Yeah, no, I've been hit in the crotch a couple times during soccer. Never during a free kick. And I'm trying to remember if I've ever kicked the ball during a free kick and it went to and hit someone in the nards. I do remember causing a goalie to cry when I was playing soccer, and I managed to hit them in the face, causing them to cry. Hitting them in the face put a backspin on the ball, and it rolled and flipped back into the net after hitting them in the face.
That's a solid shot.
Oh, it was legend. The stuff of legend.
That's right. You'll talk
So
about
not
it
only
forever.
did I make their goalie cry and evict them from the game, I scored.
You're like Al Bundy in like the magical for like last game of the season.
Yep.
The game will live on in infamy. It's so funny-
Evildoer
it's so funny that-
Voltaire. Let's go, Brandon.
Uh-huh.
I actually have a coworker named Brandon, so we say that all the time to him. We'll be like, "Hey, let's go, Brandon," and he's like, "Shut up."
Don't you remember? Don't you remember there was an actual thing where like the Babylon Bee did a YouTube or a video, and it's like the guy's trying to call his kid like yeah, go, my son, continue to rock it, child of specified name or something like his son name is Brandon, so he can support him. It's like, yep, that's what happens. Poor Brandon,
Child
Poor
of
Brandon.
unspecified name.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh my goodness.
It was so dehumanizing for that poor kid. It was.
Oh, I'm
terrible.
sure it was. I'm
That's
sure it was
very
dehumanizing.
Now every time someone says his name, he has like horrible flashbacks of like Biden trying to like snip his
Like
hair. He's
horrible
like, Dad, it came back.
It came back. It came back.
Yeah, but like most kids are scared of the monster in the closet. Like Brandon's are scared of Biden in the closet that will literally come out of the
Biden.
closet middle of the night and try to sniff their hair. It's like, Daddy did it again.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Naturally, the monsters will usually go back into the closet by themselves, but Biden actually gets lost, so he's actually using the cat. He needs instructions on how to find it back.
He does need instructions on how to get back. It's trying to help him out. Biden ruined two names, Joseph Joe and Brandon. Oh my
The
gosh.
one thing that kind of curious to me about transgender athletes is the movement has been going on for like probably 3 or 4 years, and it's been growing or strengthening because of more and more power. So how is other countries gonna deal with this? Because I know the Olympics and the national and other national things go on. So do they usually are they just gonna boycott it?
I could address that
If
quick.
the other country doesn't agree with it, or is it just gonna, or are they just gonna not have, or are they just not gonna go against America? Because
I can
countries don't agree. Oh,
Yeah.
kidding. Sorry.
I could touch on that a bit. So there's been a couple of things that have been happening worldwide. There are athletic bodies that are banning it completely, and there are other athletic bodies that are saying like it's okay under certain conditions, like the IOC, the Olympic, the Olympic, governing body. They basically say like, yes, you can compete as a transgender woman, but you have to have these certain criteria you have to meet. You have to be on testosterone for a certain number of a time, or like 2 years.
But doesn't that go against the whole political statement of other countries, honestly?
Yes.
Like how China boycotted the Olympics because of Taiwan, or how Russia boycotted the Olympics in 1979 because of Afghanistan's invasion. Doesn't that go against the whole political power of each country then? And won't that cause tension to rise?
No, what it does is like the goal of every governing body right now, sadly, is that they're all trying to be like, how can we appease the transgender movement, right? Because it's very powerful, and so some governing bodies are saying no, some of them are saying yes. It's kind of like in motion right now. That's the thing. There's no conclusion yet. Like I think what was it? Like the international rugby body, the one that governs rugby around the world, basically says like no, like men are not supposed to compete in women's sports, but more local rugby bodies are doing it. So all I can say is right now there's no consensus. There's just a ton of different organizations doing a whole bunch of their own things. Now that is an interesting question. A whole bunch of their own things. Now. Now,
Keep going.
One thing that I think this is a really good segue into our rant of the week is we're going to talk about this very specific topic about what the heck's going on with transgender athletes.
All right, so let's move on to the rant of the week.
Do it, bro.
Red alert.
Half answer my question.
Sorry, what?
that kind of half answers my question. Because he said every country, but what I've seen is China, Russia, Romania, Poland, a lot of other South Asian and Indian countries
Yeah.
and Middle Eastern countries don't want to appease Americans' ideals. Mexico, South America, basically anything that doesn't involve the U.S. or Europe is against it. So
yes,
how you said majority of the countries, but
No.
majority of countries.
Sorry. No. Yeah, sorry, there was a misunderstanding. What I said is that it's in flux. Some governing bodies. So when I say governing bodies, I'm not talking about countries. I'm talking about like
Okay.
the national institute, like the organization that governs like swimming, for example, or the organization that governs rugby. Like everyone, it's all over the place. There is no consensus anywhere, and so basically the question is who is allowing it, who is banning it. It's like it depends on who you ask. It's all over the place. I've actually looked at some governing bodies for different sports, and it's all over the place. Like you'd have to almost come up with a complete chart of who allows it, who doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
As far as countries go, you're right. There's a lot of countries who won't go anywhere near this stuff.
Mm.
Russia, Russia actually today, I think I heard it on the Michael Knowles show. Russia is actually saying
they did
no.
it like 3 days ago. They did 3 days ago.
Yeah,
or 1 week
they
ago. They banned
basically
transgender surgery.
Yep, they basically said like, nope, we're not allowing this. Period. For anybody, not even just for kids, for adults too. Which I hate to say it, but go Russia. Like credit where credit is due. So, anyways, like Steven, do you want to launch into the story and we can kind of talk about this stuff?
Yep. I'm just
caught him halfway. Caught him with his pants down.
Trying to edit the name of the stream, and apparently Kick won't let me do that. I don't know why.
They kicked you out?
There. Now it will.
Now it's good.
Don't know why it wasn't letting me do that before, but oh well. Nope. No bigs.
You'll make it happen.
Yep, I got it working, so we're good there. Anyways, so let's do From Yankee Polak and watch this video. Enjoy.
21. Yes, he keeps
Hey, Mr. Davis, Ash, why are you doing this? I'm David Menzies, Rebel News.
Hi. No, you're not really a part of this. We're having a team chat now.
Okay,
so.
I'm just trying to ask some questions,
Sorry,
ma'am.
but this is not the appropriate time for that.
Why are you allowing a biological male to compete against female
I'm
players?
not going to have a conversation with
Okay,
you.
well, I'll talk to Ash then. Ash, do you take joy in injuring female rugby players? Are you lacking the skills to play with male players where you should be? You're a biological male, aren't you?
What?
What about the...
Do you realize that you are traumatizing my family?
I'm traumatizing them. Why? What happened?
Because my kids get to see people like you crying because of things.
I'm surprised.
Need you in our
As a mother, why would you expose your kids to a
Because
massage?
that is my partner. That is my wife that you are being.
So he's a lesbian?
So I'm going to just ask you guys
Why?
please. Yeah.
What- Do you think it's okay for him to injure biological women?
So I'm not going to answer any of your questions. And I'm
Lovely.
Yeah,
Lovely people.
just lovely.
God, I would have fucking hit her right there. Honestly.
By the way.
Oh, it gets so much worse.
If you guys haven't seen it, I recommend going to watch the full. There's just
It's
like
a 20-minute
short
clip.
Yeah, it's a very long clip. In the clip, a couple things happen. One of the guys who's there, like they don't show it, but one of the, like, I don't know if he's a parent or somebody that's there. One of the guys literally like takes David and he shoves him, and he basically says like, "Hey, don't do that again because that's actually assault. I'm gonna get you charged for that." The girls who are like basically protecting this this transgender athlete, they basically create a human chain and try to stand in his way and pretty much try to blockade him. Which again, it's like they keep telling them like, like, oh, you can't go through, and they actually like literally physically obstruct him. which again,
entrapment isn't it like entrapment if I'm correct.
it's basically like I don't know how the law. Are we having what?
Entrapment. You know what entrapment is?
Entrapment is basically when you
Entrapment
try
is a
to
legal
get somebody
thing.
to.
It's mostly
Legal-
entrapment is something that mostly Leos do, or law enforcement officers, and it will be to essentially put an individual in a position where they have almost no choice aside from committing a crime.
Yeah.
So it's basically what they did is entrapment.
Yeah.
Kind of. Like I would say in a very simple sense, yes. Because like an idea of entrapment would be well for police, it would be trying to get you in a position where the most logical outcome would be for you to break the law. But that is illegal because they're trying to get you to break the law rather than catch you breaking the law. What these women did in all of these things is they're basically getting in his face, blocking him, and they're basically almost hoping that he pushes them or he pushes his way through, and then they can claim that we've been assaulted. Oh, he's attacking us. Oh, we're being manhandled or something like that, right? Which is basically a form of entrapment. And by the way, that is a tactic that left-wing ideologues use in protest. They basically do the "I'm not touching you" technique, where they basically it's like somebody holds their finger right by your face, right, literally like an inch away from your face. They're like, "I'm not touching you, not touching you," and then their goal or their hope is that you will react by either yelling at them or by physically pushing them back, and then they can accuse you of all sorts of things. That's how they work. So yeah,
spitting on someone's face is technically assault. So you
that is actually assault. Yeah, if you spit on somebody, that's actually assault. Even if you spill water on
at someone,
that's not good.
Start spitting while you're yelling. So technically, it is assault.
There's two things. If you spit or throw something at somebody, like if you throw water at them, that's assault. If you yell at them and yell in their face, that can be considered harassment, especially if you follow them around.
So they basically just harassed them the whole time.
Oh, easily. It was so easily harassment. So you're right. Now, this story itself. Okay, what is it that Rebel News is trying to shine a light on? Okay, there's a guy playing on a women's rugby team in Ontario. Okay, now this is very normal, right? Like this is like what happens with transgender athletes. It's happening everywhere. But the real problem here is not just that he's playing on a female women's team, but that there is actual hard evidence that he is actually injuring people. Okay, because one of the big concerns with transgender men pretending to be women being in women's sports is that they can seriously injure somebody, and we've already seen examples of that already. Like the most infamous one, obviously, is Fallon Fox when he literally what did he do? They crushed or
broke in two places. No, I think he cracked. He cracked another woman's orbital bone.
Yes, so he literally caused massive damage to someone's skull. The other one is that high school student where a guy was
the spike.
The spike. The guy was basically playing on a girls high school team. He goes and it was on video. He goes up for the spike and he smacks it, and he literally hits the girl in the face so hard that she had a full-on concussion. Right? I think that's what happened. Yeah, she had a concussion. She had something. It was not just like she was dazed. She actually had an injury.
Yeah.
Now, whether it was a concussion or something else is, either way, she was injured for sure. Now, if you can take us to the Redux story, Stephen, this is where we have to kind of unpack this a little bit.
We do.
And what is going on with this athlete in Ontario? Because this is not just I just disagree with them playing. It's no, there's actually problems, and you're refusing to address them. Yeah, take it away.
I'm just trying to read this comment from
I'll read it.
It's just hands on face. Okay. So, Canada, non-binary male rugby player accused of injuring female competitors was awarded hardest hitter on men's team. So, on June 23rd, reports began to circulate that a male player who identifies as non-binary was removed from a women's rugby match after he allegedly injured female competitors. Before he was removed from the game, 3 women had to stop playing and receive medical treatment due to the injuries they sustained while playing against him. The information was first shared by Diana Murphy on Twitter, who emphasized in her thread that the matter of the 3 female players injured were injured as a result of being dump tackled. Murphy identifies herself in her account bio as a photographer for the former Canadian Prime Minister Jean Chrétien. The match where the incident reportedly took place was between the senior women's divisions of the Fergus Highland RFC and the Stony Creek Campbells on June 17th. Most of the subsequent coverage of the viral thread did not identify the male player involved in the incident, with some outlets only referring to him simply as Ash. It's now been confirmed that this is Ash Davis, who previously played in the men's division of the club and been awarded the hardest hitter designation during the senior awards banquet just last year. According to a source within the club, there has been much opposition to Davis's participation in the women's category, but club members are concerned about speaking up out of fear of being labeled transphobic. The source also explained that many people have known Ash for years, making it more sensitive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is weird.
Incredibly, the problem here, like if you watch the video of him playing in that because they showed some footage of the game in the Rebel News story, you can tell the guy's not even trying. He's just walking around casually. Every so often, he'll just kind of rush in, try to do a thing.
Any crazy tackles.
Exactly, and then basically holds back. The thing is, people are. This is like where you're living in a clown world where there's no reality, okay? Because like, they interviewed several people at that game, the rugby game, and they're all like, who cares? Who cares? Not a big deal. Nobody cares, kind of thing. And the problem is like, for the girls on this team, Ash is not hurting them, but it's more about what about the other teams? What about the other women that he is very seriously going to injure, especially if he was considered the hardest hitter. This is a good case of like knowing that there is a potential for a very serious and potentially like life-altering injury and doing nothing about it. And the thing is, this is who's protected. This person is basically like we live in a modern day case system. If you know the case system from like India, they have the top the people at the very top who are like the elite and the untouchables, I guess, and then you have the people on the bottom who are not allowed to speak at all. Ash is basically on top of the hierarchy, the case system, and he is so completely insulated that any criticism or even asking questions of them is considered blasphemy. By the way, they call blasphemy transphobia. That's really what the word means. The word is a complete misnomer because it doesn't mean nobody's scared of them. Nobody's afraid or anything like that. It's basically a word for blasphemy because you are not allowed to criticize trans people or even anything to do with transgenderism. I don't know. What do you guys think about this idea of this guy playing on a team, even though they know that he's and the possibility that he's going to injure more people is really up there? What do you guys think about that? Hey, Stephen? Or anybody else?
I'm letting them answer first.
I personally believe that can you repeat what you said? I apologize, I didn't hear anything.
Whoa! Nobody listens to Danny anyway.
Wow.
No, I heard what you said. But like I was looking at something at the time. I was thinking, should I bite or not?
Should I bite? Bite his head off.
Get in there. Yeah, that's right.
Kill him.
I can handle it.
Basically said, should they let it slide?
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna be honest with you, I didn't hear anything you fucking said. Can you repeat it? I apologize for everyone else.
Basically, is it okay? Do you think that it's okay to ignore the potential risk to women that's happening by this guy playing on the rugby team?
Yeah, because like people learn without proof.
That's true.
And without proof, there's nothing, honestly. It's like me telling you that the It's like me telling you, yeah, fuck, this might get it's like me saying, if you put lithium in the sun for 5 hours, then it'll explode. And you're like, no, oh, no, like when you fucking keep your phone out with the lithium battery out for 5 hours and it explodes, then you fucking learn. Most people only learn by touching the fire. They don't learn by you telling them that the fire will burn them.
I think that's a good point.
That's a good point. I will say that, like, there are a good chunk of people, unfortunately, there is a large group of people who, even if they touch the fire and they get burned, they will still be too afraid of the backlash, or they are so ingrained in the narrative that they will still refuse to take action. You look at some of these situations, like you look at Leah Thomas, you look at Fallon Fox. These are people which were useless on the men's side. And then they joined the women, and then they dominate the women. And then everybody else, like, there are people on the left who are still trying to say, they're still trying to advocate for this fictional notion that men have no inherent biological advantages over women. This is obviously false. It's obvious that there are inherent biological advantages for men over women, but because they're so ingrained in the narrative and because they would be punished for speaking out against it, they either stay silent or they openly support it because they can't go against it.
It's the carrot and the stick syndrome. It's like the carrot is like, oh, you'll be a good person if you let this happen. You'll be a good person because you're protecting people from bullying, and you're protecting people from like suicide, and you're protecting. It's like the false compassion that the cruel compassion I call it, right? But if that doesn't work, then they turn around and then they try to destroy you. Like, do you remember that story, Stephen, where there was a team in the States who basically decided we're not going to play in this tournament because there's a team with a transgender athlete and we want to protect our girls from that danger. And that team got absolutely
excoriated
by not only the media, but they actually even like faced some very severe sanctions. I think
didn't they have like threats that they would be like removed from all further competitions?
Yes, they did. So like it's like you're not even allowed to like say like, oh, we just don't want to compete. Like you have to not only accept it, you have to comply and cheer it on. It's incredibly like dangerous. Now, speaking of the harms that are happening, like you bring up the story from the Daily Mail, because this is like related to that whole concept. Okay, here we are. They're ignoring the potential danger, the feelings of other women, all this kind of stuff, and you're silencing women who might want to speak out. And here we have the actual fallout of that whole just absolutely like horrible thing that happened in women's swimming in the States.
Yeah,
this is like a little bit of fallout from that.
Okay, so UPenn women swimmers had to undress next to 6'4" biological male Leah Thomas 18 times a week. We're told to get re-educated when they complain. Congress hears in bombshell testimony. Addressing a House committee, Paula Scanlon slammed UPenn's sports chief. Female athletes changed in the bathrooms to avoid drying off next to Thomas. And one of the former teammates had bashed the school for making female athletes undress next to the male 18 times a week. Whether to let trans women compete as women's sports is a frontline issue in American culture wars between progressives and conservatives. It played out in the House Judiciary Committee on Thursday, which was, of course, today. So I don't think there's too much other than that in the story. It was a lot of pictures.
Yeah. Well, there's like the testimony, but we have like a Twitter version of like her testimony.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So here we go. We can watch this. Let's watch. So
put the sound.
This is representative of a greater issue, the destruction of free speech. Today, any discussion maintaining the sanctity of women's spaces is labeled transphobic, bigoted, and hateful. What's bigoted and hateful is the discrimination against women and the efforts to erase women and our equal opportunities, dignity, and safe spaces. One might ask, why do I speak so passionately about issues that seem hypothetical or some may perceive as only impacting a small number of women. This is not hypothetical. This is real. I know women who have lost roster spots and spots on the podium. I know of women with sexual trauma who are adversely impacted by having biological males in their locker room without their consent. I know this because I am one of these women. I was sexually assaulted on June 3rd of 2016. I was only 16 years old. I was able to forgive my attacker, but violence against women still exists. Let us not forget the viral Me Too movement that empowered female victims to speak up. It casts a spotlight on the widespread prevalence of sexual assault and abuse, including in scholarly and educational institutions. Individuals on this committee have previously stated violence against women is all too common. I am grateful for those members who have brought awareness to the violence against women in the past, but unfortunately, there's still much to be done. As a sexual assault survivor, many policies pushed today completely ignore my experiences and many women like me. I ask the members of this committee, please consider this issue outside the lens of political affiliations and understand the true.
Really finished, but yeah.
Yeah.
But the point is made. The point is made.
Yeah. Let me give you an example of how incredibly unjust this is. Imagine, like, I used to work with kids. Okay. I used to work with kids, and one of the things that would happen, kids would come up to me, and they'd be like, oh, I was playing outside, and Billy took the swing from me, like he literally like pushed me off the swing, and like then he took it, and I'm like, okay, what happened? Like, so I asked Billy, and he was like, well, I had the swing first. I'm like, well, he said he had it first, so tough luck. That's literally what they're doing. They're basically picking sides, and they're calling it fairness and like all this kind of stuff. Because what happened there, it's like, if you could wrap your head around what they did, it is so incredible. It should almost be downright criminal. You're basically victim shaming the victims here. Okay, the real victims here are the women in those change rooms, which is dozens of women who are all basically told, we don't give a crap about how you feel. We don't give a crap about how uncomfortable, anything like that. Any of this is nothing. Not even the slightest shred of compassion or care. And instead, they went one step further, and they basically brought in re-education counseling. Sorry, they basically tried to like gaslight them and brainwash them into like, here's why you should like feel good about undressing, with somebody who's like a male. This is why you should feel good about that. Like, it's downright like it's almost like downright creepy. Imagine telling girls like that some creepy guys walking around. Imagine if you were in a school and some creepy guy goes around pinching girls' butts, and then girls complain. They're like, this guy's going around pinching us like in our butts, and be like, don't worry, we're gonna put you all in the re-education class, and they're gonna teach you why you shouldn't be offended, why you should actually welcome him pinching your butt. That's essentially how creepy that is.
Guys, this is when I make friends with the quiet kid, guys. This is when I make.
I don't know. What do you think about that? Do you think that is in any way acceptable?
I'm not gonna lie to you. Oh, sorry. Are you talking to him?
No,
everyone. Everyone.
Yeah.
This is of course not acceptable.
I was just waiting for Conqueror to say something. I didn't want to cut him.
Conqueror is full mute.
He's unmuted, but he's
he's on self mute.
Well, my whole thing is pretty much similar to what you guys are talking about. In fact, I got in trouble today. Well, not in trouble, but I got into a conversation today with Christians that are defending transgenderism and homosexuality. And
Jeremy, quick question: were you there at we were watching George Bible study at his house, right? Were you there when we were having a debate about transgenderism, and I was basically going toe to toe with several other people in that group? I'm not sure if you were there.
I don't think I was, but I wish I had been.
Oh my gosh, you should have seen it. It was like 5-on-1.
What were they saying?
They were basically saying. So I was basically saying, as a Christian, you cannot affirm someone's delusion. It's not loving. And then, of all people, and like I don't mean to call him out, but because he's a major leader in the core at the time. This is like the major Bible study that at our former church. What is his name? He married Jewel.
Tanner.
Tanner, thank you, Tanner, who's like a major player. He was basically, I was saying, like we're Christians, we're not supposed to lie to people. And he looks at me like with the most like sincere face, and he's like, "It's not lying."
It is.
And I look at him, I'm like, "What are you talking about?" They're saying that they are the different sex, and you're saying that they're not lying. How is that in any way biblical? And he was totally backing it up. He's like, "No, it's not lying. It's compassionate lying." Like he didn't say that, but that's what he was implying. That's basically what he was arguing.
It's true.
It's compassionate lying. It's like it makes him feel better, so that we should do it. And I'm like, "Are you nuts? Like, are you
that's
kidding?"
Completely antithetical to the message of the gospel.
Right. So,
because compassionate lying would be like, you're not going to hell if you don't believe.
I personally,
you like whatever you want to happen is what will happen. Like that's compassionate lying.
I personally believe that if they do some shit to me, I hit back because I can easily countersue, sue in a school. Because there's situations where people have been bullied for a certain time and they killed themselves, and their parents sued the school and won multiple times. And I'm not saying kill yourself to get sued, but you can easily sue the school for knowing it happened and neglecting it, and they could easily win. And I say, if this constantly happens, sue the school, honestly. What's the judge going to do? Take the side of the transgender? If they do, we all know the court's corrupt now.
It depends. Like in the United States, there's a good chance that they won't. It's like 50-50 will they'll side with you. In Canada, 100%.
Yeah.
They would align against you.
Yeah, here in Canada, when we had a situation here where, very simply, a man walked into a girl's change room at a local pool here in Calgary, and there was a class of like 10, 11, 12-year-old girls that were going into the change room, and he was fully naked, straight out there, right? People complained, and the number one response that everyone said was like, "Oh, nothing we can do. It's human rights. The human rights thing backs them up."
That's not human rights.
Human rights is always it's like basically it's passing the buck. It's like, well, I can't do anything about it, and so like this is my get out of jail free card. That's what they always pull. I literally asked the lady because she was. I tried to make a complaint through apparently you can't call the pool. You have to talk to the city, and then they'll take the complaint for you. The lady that I talked to from the city was basically saying that it's like, oh, it's like that, like transgender people are now more dangerous. And I'm like, ma'am, are you telling me like you would basically hire a complete stranger, a man, to babysit your children, and you'd be okay with that? It's like, well, that's different. And I'm like, no, it's not. There's a reason why parents tend to hire women or girls to babysit their kids. Because there are realities in the sexes that you are acknowledging that you're refusing to acknowledge here. Now, the big question is like, okay, so what they're advocating for has consequences. For example, right now in Calgary, if I understand the law properly, all I have to do, and I asked the lady straight up, and she had no answer. I'm like, so basically, I was like saying, you're telling me I can literally walk into any women's bathroom at any public pool in Calgary, and I can literally stare at naked women or naked little girls. I mean, pretend that I'm doing my own thing, but literally go in there and ogle naked women, and all I have to do is basically, like, get away with it. Just say, like, oh, I just identify as a woman. You basically legalized voyeurism. Congratulations.
You've made. I mean, pedophilia.
Oh, pedophilia, but voyeurism. You know what voyeurism is, right?
No, I don't know what that means.
Voyeurism is is basically going into women's spaces and just to look at them naked. Yep. So in other words, it used to be illegal for a man to walk into a girl's space and see them naked.
So basically, sexual harassment.
It is kind of a form.
It's a level of it.
Yeah. But they've basically made it legal. Now you can actually go into women's spaces and stare and basically look at naked girls or naked women and it's totally legal. They basically made it legal. Like so, you know,
Germany or Canada.
that's essentially the consequence of the law that they've made. They've made it impossible for anybody to charge somebody with voyeurism. So if you are a horny 18-year-old kid and you and your buddies want to go into the local, like, you know, swimming pool and look at naked girls or naked teen girls,
you are
all
totally able to do so.
You literally, all you have to do is say, I identify as a woman. Bam, you are now free to go into that women's bathroom and just
you can just sit there.
You can literally just sit there. All you have to do, you don't have to change. You can literally just sit there.
So I could easily just okay.
Just gotta say, I identify as a woman. That's it. I've actually contemplated if somebody was brave enough to try, you could actually get, like, let's say, for example, a group of, like, let's say 12 men, and that group of 12 men can go into, with, like, as an actual stunt, they go into a public women's bathroom all together, and all of them would say, I identify as a woman. What are they going to do? They can't charge them, because if they charge them, they're setting the precedent that they're going to try to, like, refute people's, like, gender identity, which they don't want to do, because that's the golden goose, right? That's the golden egg, you know, that they're trying to protect. And they can't risk setting the standard that you have to be examined for your gender identity. So they basically legalized voyeurism. And on top of that, like this girl was saying, she was raped by a man. So there are absolutely, that is an insanely legitimate rationale for, I don't want to be in a space with men because I got raped by a man.
Yeah.
And the idea of having a naked man in your own space makes you insanely uncomfortable. And not only uncomfortable,
as it should.
But they don't care. This is like the fake compassion of the left.
Anyways, we do have to
try to make a legal case against it. It doesn't help that they've come up with all these fake science things that say that gender and sex are different.
Yeah, but not true.
Like we've analyzed this for years. You can basically, like, make up a study, or, like, you can say things are a study, or you can say things are a medical study, and then you can say that you have conclusive proofs that something exists, and then you look at people actually analyze the study, and the sample size is like 2 people.
Yeah.
Like, they're not being honest and straightforward. Yeah, fake science.
Yeah. One of the things that I've learned in the last 5 years about, like, scientific studies is that they can be fudged, they can be faked, and they can definitely be manipulated in order to get the results that you want.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different ways to do it, and it's easy for people to be fooled by a lot of these studies that they come up with. Like, science has basically been captured by the left.
And you can twist the data to say something that it doesn't actually say, but because, you can just twist it.
Yeah, you know, the best way I've found to respond to that, Jeremy, is when people say, like, you know, science says, I always like, no. Science doesn't speak. Science is a method. It's a methodology, and that's objective. Scientists speak, and they make inferences from the data that they collect. Okay, so don't tell me that science has spoken. That's not a real thing.
Science told me personally. Guys.
Me and science are bros. We go out for drinks tonight, and science
since high school.
Yeah. We go out on the street and be like, we learned about the world, you know.
Yeah. The fuck, I forgot what was Einstein's theory. C equals MC squared. Yeah, C equals.
All right. So let's move on to the next story, Stephen. If you got it ready to go and queued up.
Yeah, just give me 1 second.
Oh, I feel bad for this.
I'm just copying and pasting.
Yeah, I never know how to, like, you know, how to set Stephen up properly.
Well, I'm just if you would give me like another 5 seconds, I would have been fine.
I'm telling you, it's tough.
Here we go. All right, so nothing to see here.
I'm to see here.
Sensible.
Okay, so the
That
New York
still remains-
Post.
That remains one of my favorite stingers ever.
It's a great
Seriously.
stinger. Ron DeSantis rips Kamala Harris over hoax Florida curriculum claim. So, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis accused Vice President Kamala Harris of trying to perpetuate a hoax Tuesday night after she claimed the Sunshine State's new middle school Black History curriculum includes lessons that enslaved people benefited from slavery. The 2024 Republican presidential hopeful said that during an interview on Fox News' Jesse Waters Primetime that contrary to Harris's statements, the curriculum adheres to high standards set by African-American scholars. There's no agenda here, it's just the truth, DeSantis said. And they talk in gory detail of a lot of the bad of American history, including, of course, the injustice of slavery, but she's trying to perpetuate a hoax. The governor added that Harris and other Democrats in the Biden administration have latched on to what he called a fake narrative about Florida to use their political attacks against him in the run-up to next year's presidential election. Yep. She hopped on that plane very quickly on Friday to come down to Florida to spew this hoax. So this is what she's actually saying. So here's what the state will actually be teaching if you're interested. So from not to be, there's not a whole lot to do as VP. It's a boring job that goes double for Kamala Harris, who's even on the best of days seeming to have trouble figuring out the ways to entertain herself. So it's not surprising she resorts to shameful inanities like this. So this is a quote from the vice president.
Play.
They push forward revisionist history. Just yesterday in the state of Florida, they decided middle school students will be taught that enslaved people benefited from slavery. They insult us in an attempt to gaslight us, and we will not stand for it.
Joining us now, the host of...
And of course, MSNBC brings on Al Sharpton.
The ultimate race baiter.
The ultimate race baiter. Oh my goodness. MSNBC, you are such a failure.
Curious. Did they ever read the whole thing, or did they just read skim?
Oh no, they never did.
They're con artists. If you understand how they work, they intentionally depend and rely on the echo chamber to keep their lies from getting out.
Well, they did the exact same thing when they talked about the quote unquote "Don't Say Gay" bill. Yeah, this is the exact same type of thing.
Complete, BS and nonsense. The thing is, anybody who does even a modicum of research on any of the lies that they pull can easily find out that's not true. Yeah, that's actually not true at all. They rely on ignorance. They thrive on it. This is why they hate. This is why they like censorship. Because one of the things that they cannot stand is when people expose their lies. And this is another reason why the left always if you ever encounter a left wing person in a big group or something like that in protest, what is the one thing they will never do, ever do, if a conservative comes around?
A reasonable conversation.
No, they'll never talk to you.
Yeah,
they will
never
be
talk to
no
you.
comment. No comment. No, we don't talk to you, people like you.
I remember specifically. Okay, go for it.
Yeah, go for it.
Oh, sorry. You guys are about to say something?
Oh no,
you
go for it, and then I'll finish.
I think the one problem with why the transgender movement grows so fast is personally because of parents' lack of strict control on their kids. Because a lot of kids over time, they started getting looser. While the 70s parents started getting less strict than the 60s parents. Then the 80s parents got less strict, but they were still a tiny bit stricter than the 70s. But the 90s parents started to get tiny bit stricter, but 2000s and 2010, they were at normal parents. Then after COVID, parents just stopped trying, honestly. So it's like parents that go well, if we let the kids do whatever they want, then he'll just be happy and not become a crack addict or a hood rat. Like those kids in the hood. Sorry for that. But most of the time that doesn't usually work, because most of the time they usually just go out, rob places, shoplift. I knew from personal experience because I grew up with an educational mind. I found history very good, but I know people who didn't and had free will parents and didn't turn out that well. It turned out like Democrats, fucking liberals. But personally, it has to do with the strict less strict control. Because if they go like, "Oh, you're trying to take away my kid's free will because I'm not trying to be transgender," but like it just makes those emo kids think about suicide and all that as the final solution to make them happy. And like, dude, that's not fucking gonna make them happy. It's just a fucking phase, honestly. At the end of the day, it's a phase that you're encouraging and enabling. It's like a drunk. If you're encouraging them to continue being a drunk, then they're gonna be drunk. But if you put a strict foot down on that, then they're not gonna be drunk anymore. That's how I feel, honestly.
No, I think you're right. Like, like that's one. Yeah. Okay, so this is a multifaceted problem, and I think you've absolutely nailed it on one of those facets. Is that parents are less involved with their kids generally. They're less strict with their kids, and so a lot of the kids grow up without any like actual discipline or any actual like idea of like how to respect authority, how to like how to think critically, all these things. Most kids nowadays are being raised by their phones or by their teachers. And both of these things are basically like tailored to indoctrinate children into a certain way of thinking.
Worldview, yeah.
Absolutely.
Anyways, so let's actually quote from what the curriculum states.
Yeah.
So we can address their complaints. So amongst these new standards is the directive that schools as a part of their curriculum will examine the various duties and trades performed by slaves. Examples of agricultural work, painting, carpentry, tailoring, domestic service, blacksmithing, and transportation. As a part of these lessons, they will include instruction includes how slaves develop skills which in some instances could be applied for their personal benefit. That's it. Yep, that's it. That's really it. The state will require children to learn that some of the things slaves learned under the brutal yoke of slavery could in some ways be applied for personal benefit. Which is not a debatable point. It's 100% true.
Even if you go down a little bit, just to that little blue section, it says, and here's the key takeaway. Why are they mentioning this? It's kind of important because they say, once free, I think they mean African Americans use these skills to provide for themselves and others. Okay, that's called like giving you details so you can understand what came next.
Yeah,
it's like, there's a reason why. Why is it that immediately after a lot of like the southern like former slaves were like like so good at like tailoring, music, carpentry, painting? Like, where did they learn these skills if all they did was pick cotton? It's because they learned these skills while they were imprisoned, and this led to why African Americans thrived in these industries, right? So the key takeaway I think with this one is that you have to take the approach that this doesn't happen in a vacuum. You have to analyze, are these people, Kamala Harris and the people on MSNBC, are they reliable witnesses? And they're not. They are like verifiable pathological liars. They're liars. And so they lie about everything, and so you cannot trust them on anything that they say further. This is the problem. People just think like, we have to like take their comments at face value. Like, no. These are liars. If they lied before and they never apologized for lying before, they're going to lie again. Kamala Harris, by the way, is one of the people that perpetuated the lie of very fine people on both sides. Okay? That is a completely and totally manufactured hoax. And anybody who's actually even slightly intelligent knows that they lied through their crooked teeth about that. And they lied about the impeachment and all this kind of stuff. So, yeah. You were going to say something?
Why does Kamala Harris look so different in that fucking video than she does when she talked about the school shooter joke thing? Didn't she have an afro and wasn't she darker?
I don't know. Like she always has like different kind of hairstyles in different places.
Are you talking about the vice president for you or America?
For the United States. This right here, the little GIF that I have. This is pretty much Kamala Harris's fairly consistent hairstyle for the past year or two.
It usually is like the way she wears.
This is her default state of being, demonic cackling.
Yeah, she has like the Hillary Clinton cackle, which a lot of she laughs like the Wicked Witch of the West. It's really creepy.
It's super creepy.
Yes, but but you have to remember these people. Like it's incredible to me that people can blatantly lie, and get away with it. This is the thing I find most absurd about the modern. Like, okay, so Steven, you're an intelligent guy. I've seen it by the way you talk, the way you research, the way you look at things. Jeremy's an intelligent guy. He does his research. He presents articles. Kitty, I don't. What is your actual name, Kitty?
Kitty.
I don't know. I don't know what to call you.
What the fuck?
Or do
exposure on air.
Just call me.
Give me a name to call you. A random name. I can call you KJ. KJ, like, you know.
Call me console document. Just call me console.
There we
console
go.
document. Okay, console document. Okay, so you're also an intelligent guy. You think reasonably. You think critically. What I find absurd is that these people are saying obvious lies on national television. That's what I find crazy.
It's what the Nazi Party did during
Yes.
World War II, where they kept going like, the Jews are trying to take our money. They're trying to weaken our government so they can take control of our money and weaken our infrastructure. So
Right.
it's called fear baiting, and more fear spreads so they can get control. And when they weaken and have enough control, they can grab power. But Hitler didn't grab power. He got basically power after someone died. But that's a different story. But you get the point of the story.
I get the point. I get the point.
It's basically fear baiting.
But
That's
like,
what
the thing
I
is,
used to do.
but the thing is, like, people used to the media, the Democrats, and all that kind of, and the Liberal Party here in Canada, they used to try to at least pretend like they were not lying. But now it's so blatant that that's what I find crazy. They're not even trying to hide it anymore. It's right in the open, like verifiably obvious lies, and they're so confident that they'll never be, like, you know, fact checked for them, that they feel like they can say whatever crazy thing they want and it never comes back to them. That's what I find crazy. And I find it also crazy that people legitimately believe these people when they say these things. I talk to liberals all the time, and they're like, "Oh no, they got a point," and I'm like, "Are you really that crazy, like that brain dead that you actually believe their lies?" It's insane to me. Like, you know, just a feature of the left. But yeah, you have one more story on this one, did you, Stephen?
Yep, I did.
Yep.
So, from Reuters. So, we have U.S. House Democrat holds thirst strike to protest Texas water break law. This is, of course, dishonest. Democratic U.S. Representative Greg Kasar of Texas held a thirst strike in Congress on Tuesday to protest a new law signed by Republican Texas Governor Greg Abbott blocking local ordinances that mandate water break for workers. Kasar, whose district includes part of Austin and San Antonio, said would not drink water for 8 hours. Actually, that's not what he said, Reuters. He said that he would not eat or drink for as long as possible, which for this loser only lasted 8 hours.
That's a big sacrifice for a lefty.
Yep. So a day earlier, over 100 Democrats signed a letter to President Joe Biden's administration asking for federal workplace heat safety regulations. It's challenging and it's hot, but it's not as hot as it is in Texas. Top House Democrat Hakeem Jeffrey called Abbott's bill unreasonable, unconscionable, and un-American. What did the bill actually state? The legislation, this is all it does, it blocks cities from writing local rules that go further than state laws, an attempt by Texas Republicans to limit the ability of local Democratic lawmakers to enact their policies. So it limits local laws that contravene and go further than state laws.
In other words, it basically limits, like, local governments from vetoing a larger government.
Yes.
Is that what it does? Okay.
Yes, that's all it does. And so, because there was a local government that signed into effect this water ordinance, like, everybody is allowed to take water breaks.
Okay.
You don't need a legislation to mandate water breaks. Everybody's allowed to take a water break, especially when it's hot out. And there are principles, like, there's already principles in place as a state level, and there's already principles in place on a workplace level. And you have to take, like, every workplace where you're working outside, you have special conditions when it's hot. You work differently. You have extra water. You do, like, things operate in a different manner. But what they did was, it's like, well, let's make an extra mandate to force employers, to make employers look like the bad guy and make us, as the Democrat, as the politician, look like we're the heroes swooping in to save the little guy.
More fake compassion from the Dems.
And then, of course, there were other ordinances which were affecting state ordinances, and so Greg Abbott and the Texas government said, well, no, you can't do that. You can't just make ordinances that rewrite and undo state ordinances. And so they cherry-picked this one water bill, just saying that, the state government is specifically okay, that's fine. It's specifically targeting this water because the state government doesn't want you to take water breaks because they're in favor of big corporation. Like, this is word for word what these jackasses said. Because this is what the mainstream media and this is what the Democrats try and push. They try and take a bill that has very little to do with the agenda that they're trying to push, and then they warp it in public speech. Like, Reuters used to be a fairly solid source of news. And Reuters openly states that it is a water break law. It's like, you dishonest hacks.
Yeah.
This has nothing to do with water breaks. The bill does not mention the water breaks.
And people wonder why it's so difficult for me to like read like left-wing articles.
Oh yeah.
Is you can literally read lying to you in real time. You're like, that's not true. Like, nope, that's not. Nope, that's wrong.
Yeah, you're just like, it's endless grunting because you're just like, I'm so done with this crap.
Yeah, I feel like Stitch
with these
from
lies.
Yeah,
like, pretty much.
Yeah, because it's like
so
they do a ton of,
dishonest.
they do so much editorialism. So this is why, like, you know, one of the things that you and I push so hard is we try to like educate people about like the traps that are everywhere. And are designed to fool you and to try to mislead you about like what the truth is. And this is like the MO of the Democratic Party and left-wing media. They will intentionally try to lie to you about this and that. And if you're not careful, and if you don't read through the whole article and do some research into the back of the actual thing, you are easily going to be deceived into believing, oh, I can't believe they're banning people from like drinking water. A good example of that, Stephen, like just to kind of like expand on this, you remember that all the kerfuffle and all the outrage over that law? I think it was Georgia, where they basically said that you're like, you know, that you're not allowed to give like, you know, water bottles to people waiting in line to vote. And they said, like, you know, like, oh my gosh, they're causing people to like, you know, like literally like die of dehydration or something like that. It's like, no, you cannot give gifts to people waiting in line trying to sway their vote, which is what they were doing. They were intentionally trying to use like free goodies and free snacks to try to like, you know, like influence people into voting for their party. And people basically said like, no, we're not allowing this like at all. Because this is like basically a way of manipulating voters. And of course the media basically, like the media and the left, try to like, you know, like make it sound like they're trying to like, you know, hurt people. It's just watch for this. They do this all the time. It's very common. And it's something you always have to be careful of because this is how they operate.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
All right. But let's continue on and address the news you may have missed. To talk about the news that you may have missed.
Let's do it, bro.
So first off, starting with global news. Mitch McConnell says, I'm fine after freezing during remarks to reporters.
Oh,
Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell briefly left his own press conference Wednesday after stopping his remarks mid-sentence and staring off into space for several seconds. He approached the podium for his weekly press conference, began speaking about the annual defense bill on the floor, which he said was proceeding with good bipartisan cooperation, but then he appeared to lose his train of thought, trailing off with a drawn-out,
Maybe play the video because they actually
I
show...
hope, yeah, this...
No, not this one. No,
well,
not
this one will work.
No, because... Oh, it's so excruciating. Like right there in the middle of a press conference. Completely gone.
Are you okay?
Seizure.
Yeah. Oh.
Yep. Yikes.
It is brutal.
Like, we're not denying. Like, this is one primary difference between the Republicans and the Democrats. The Democrats have senile, old people in
Completely.
positions of power and people in positions of government. But the Republicans are willing to say, yeah, these people should probably step down. The Democrats are like, we must hold on to power at all costs. And if we get rid of them, then that would be the end of democracy in America. It's like, well, no, John Fetterman is like falling apart, linking even half a sentence. And Joe Biden can barely put one sentence together.
Well, like here, show some of the. This is like what makes you really worry about American politics. Like you see, like this is happening everywhere.
Yeah.
You have like legitimately, and there's not ableism in the idea of like saying like like oh we discriminated against people who are like disabled or have
Well, here,
some kind of
here's
issues.
3 clips.
But here's the
No, here's 81 year. Here's Mitch McConnell freezing. It's, I believe this is the Just Vote Yay.
Senator Feinstein.
Yeah.
Say aye. Pardon me?
Say aye.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can zoom in on that one.
I would like to.
Senator Feinstein.
I would like to support a yes vote on this. It provides $823 billion. That's an increase of $26 billion for the Department of Defense, and it funds priorities submitted.
Yeah, just say aye.
Okay, just aye.
Thank you.
Senator Feinstein.
Wow.
Yep. And then
What
there's
happened-
Biden.
If you do anything at all, if you could do anything at all, Joe, what would you do? I said I'd cure cancer. They looked at me like, why cancer? Because no one thinks we can. That's why, and we can. We'd end the cancer as we know it.
We
If you
ended
do anything
cancer
at
as
all,
we
Joe,
know
what-
it.
Cancer. Yeah.
Like,
We ended cancer.
these people have lost it. And like this is the senility, and this is the problem with having, as Matt Walsh labels it, old dinosaurs in governments who don't know left from right, who don't know up from down, because that's what happens when you get old. You start to lose it.
Kamala's excuse.
Well, Kamala was never meant to be there in the first place. She slept her way to the top, and this is what happens when you have bimbos that get their way to the top through sleeping with people. You have
you're also-
unqualified people.
You're also forgetting, Stephen. She has one very essential
Oh, yes.
quality that made it possible for her to be there.
She's an Indian Jamaican.
She got that.
And
tint
she's
of
a woman.
skin, that beautiful
The tint of skin,
that made-
and she's
that
got the vajayjay.
glorified her.
But you guys have seen her go on one of her gibberish rants.
Oh.
haven't you?
Oh, it's like
Her rant about time was so stupid.
Yeah.
She said the word, what was it? It was something about time like 7 times in a row.
Yeah.
And it was like, what? Like, I'll see if I can find it. It's just that ridiculously stupid.
Or her speech about like the school buses, or I think Ben Shapiro had a great take on her. He basically said like Kamala Harris would be the equivalent of doing an autofill sentence and just seeing what comes out. Like that's literally what she is. And I'm like, yeah, that actually is like what it sounds like. You find it?
Yes, the significance of the passage of
Governor
time.
and I, and we were all doing a tour of the library here, and talking about the significance of the passage of time, right? The significance of the passage of time. So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time in terms of what we need to do to lay these wires, what we need to do to create these jobs. And there is such great significance to the passage of time when we think about a day in the life of our children.
This is like, I'm uneducated.
That's like something you would do in a Key and Peele, segment, like it's like you got to report on the grapes of wrath. Tell me what you learned. Like, well, the grapes of wrath. Yeah, those grapes really had a lot of wrath.
Yeah.
And the wrath was
Wrathful.
like purple like grapes, and it was
Yeah.
really wrathy.
And that was significant
oh my
because
gosh,
they were
super
grapes.
and they were wrathful.
Yep.
Yeah, it's like
But talking about nonsensical points, let's move on quickly to Hillary Clinton.
Hillary
So she
Clinton.
blames MAGA Republicans for making it hot outside. You have to go for it.
This is my story. Okay. Hillary Clinton blames MAGA Republicans for hot outside. Not even kidding. The crazy thing, she'll probably get away with this. Of course she will. All right. So former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton took to Twitter on Tuesday to blast MAGA Republicans for the recent summer heat wave hitting communities nationwide. Clinton's social media post came in response to a tweet from left-wing think tank Center for American Progress which stated, MAGA Republicans are pouring fuel on the climate crisis fire. The post included an image of recent media stories highlighting the recent spate of high temperatures in the U.S. and noted Republicans voted against the Inflation Reduction Act, Democrats' $739 billion climate package, which President Biden signed into law in 2022. Hot enough for you? Thank you, MAGA Republican. Or better yet, vote them out of office. No thank you. How about no? My favorite thing is, like, if you actually go down and look at the actual the picture, like the excessive heat, like, even below that. Look at the one like with that right there. You notice how like the maps used to be green, like when they show like actual areas. No, they're not green anymore. They're now red. The Earth is literally on fire. Like, that's literally what they've done. This is like such propaganda. It's crazy. By the way, there's a word for what they're describing. What could that word be? Of something that causes a lot of heat, comes every year, and seems to always affect people, no matter what year it is. What is? Oh, right, summer. It's summer.
I was gonna say like Hellfire and Pride Month.
That's that too. But like that this is like the fear mongering, the unquestionable like climate change that is so sacred can't be questioned. By the way, here in Canada, I think we've already kind of at least we've already seen that a large quantity. I'm not going to say all of them or most of them, like I'm checked, but a large quantity of the fires that happened here in Canada over this past summer were man-made. In Alberta specifically, there was like a lot of people that were like caught actually like setting fires. And I remember like seeing like in Greece, like they were like had some major fires, like wildfires that happened in Greece. Arson. A lot of them in the States that like were caused by arson. Like it's arson everywhere. So again, like the idea that climate change is so sacred that you cannot even suggest that it may not be like true shows you how completely likely it is that this stuff is a complete hoax. I mean, I don't believe it. I don't believe it in a second. Do I believe that human beings using carbon dioxide can affect the weather in a certain way? Sure. Does it have some effect? Sure. Is it going to lead to the end of the world? I'm sorry, I am not Greta Thunberg. I do not believe all of the propaganda from the left wing, climate science.
Did you just say Greta Gutenberg?
I couldn't remember what her last name was. What was
Thunberg.
Thunberg. Thunberg. Thank you. I couldn't remember what her name was. Like, what was Gutenberg?
She shall now be. She shall on the show. She shall now be Greta Gutenberg of the Blessed Sailboat.
Gutenberg. That's right. She's always publishing fake news about climate science. All right, you take the next one.
So, things that should be fake news, but oh my gosh, they're not. Mattel executives on next Hollywood movies, Barney, Polly Pocket, and Barbie sequels. After dominating the box office and breaking records with Barbie, Mattel has officially arrived in Hollywood in 2018 after a tumultuous period of declining toy sales. Mattel brought in a new CEO, businessman Jon Kreese, who had a vision to turn the storied toy company into an IP-driven machine, especially creating a Mattel cinematic universe. Oh my gosh, that'd be horrifying.
Yeah. I want them to lose money.
Yeah.
And learn a hard
Become the
lesson.
new Disney.
Yes, please.
The path is clear for Mattel to make whatever they want, and they've already a ton of projects in the work with A-list partners attached. With dozens of children's toys in their film slate, 14 Mattel properties are in active development, including Barney, Polly Pocket, Thomas and Friends, and American Girl. Of course, the door is also wide open for Barbie sequels. Director Greta Gerwig has said that she's not thinking about a follow-up at this time, saying at this moment it's all I've got. But after Margot Robbie starring Hot Pink, Fantasia has grossed an astonishing $380 million in its first 5 days, It's a safe bet that Mattel and Warner Brothers will want more. Speaking of variety about their IP strategy, Mattel executives were hopeful to open up an entire Barbie world of sequels. Yeah, well, Mattel executives, like, you get roasted in your own film. You're not exceptionally bright.
I thought it was hilarious because like people were saying like this is like a movie written by people that hate Barbie and literally like get off on telling people how much they hate Barbie and how horrible Barbie is. And Mattel's like, oh yes, please give us more, please, let's keep it going. It's pretty unreal that Mattel actually like allowed them to like pretty much hijack their IP.
Yeah,
I can't believe that they did that. That's crazy.
Oh, utterly ridiculous, utterly ridiculous. But other things that are utterly ridiculous, but a little bit of sense. Danny, you want to talk about this? I know.
Politico? Okay.
Yeah.
By the way, check.
What? Check what?
I think he froze.
Danny? What?
We lost him.
We lost Danny's audio? I think everybody can still hear me.
I can still hear you.
Danny, we can't hear you.
What happened, Danny?
I think Danny's trying to sort himself out.
Yeah, something happened with my internet. I'm not sure what happened.
Okay, well, you're back now.
Yep, sounds good. Yeah, I noticed that something was glitching, and I'm like, is it on your end? My end? Then suddenly I was like, oh, I'm gone. Okay, I'm back now.
Camera, is that fine with you guys?
Sorry?
Is it fine if I try the camera?
You can. Once we're done the news you may have missed, I might turn on I could briefly turn on, like, Discord video. But, well, I can't. The thing is with Discord video,
it's complicated,
is that, yeah, it's complicated. Because
Discord video only seems to be effectively...
If I leave the screen for Discord video, then everybody but me disappears.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous.
We'll figure something out, though.
Yeah. So,
okay.
If you wish to join video, we can talk about that later. But for right now, we're going to continue with the political story.
Wait, can you do the video even if it's not on the actual show screen? Can we see him?
Yeah.
Yeah,
can
then that would be fine.
He can turn on video.
Yeah, we just can't. We just won't be able to see you on the actual live stream screen
until I deliberately set that up. So
yeah, so you can turn on video. You just won't be on the live stream. That's okay. Okay. So let's go with. There he is. What's up, man? All right. So I'm gonna read the political story here. All right. So Trump charged with new crimes in classified documents case. Special counsel Jack Smith has brought 3 new felony charges against former President Donald Trump, including explosive claims that he asked an employee of his Mar-a-Lago club to delete security camera footage shot by investigators probing his handling of classified documents. In a 60-page superseding indictment unveiled Thursday, prosecutors also accused Trump of possessing a highly classified war plan that he shared with people lacking security clearances months after his presidency ended, and prosecutors added a third defendant, Carlos de Oliveira, a worker at Mar-a-Lago who is accused of joining Trump and aide Walt Nauta to seek the destruction of the security footage. The additional charges are another stunning chapter in prosecutors' case against the former president, who has repeatedly professed that he quickly shared all security camera footage from his estate with the government. By the way, this is Politico, so I'm going to take everything that they just said with a whole massive grain of salt. Because
they were... Oh, oops, sorry.
Oh, I'm done. What were you going to say?
No, you continue. You were about to say something. I cut you off on accident.
No. I'm just basically saying, like, I don't trust Politico. So, like, I read it with a grain of salt. I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna take what they say. I have to remember also that they like to make claims and make a lot of accusations that I have to follow up to be able to know if is this true or is this just what they're saying is true. So, I don't trust Politico on his face. Is what I'm saying.
I think just saying you don't trust article. You said there was proof before this? Because before the live started, you guys mentioned this. You guys said there was proof that they had it?
Well, so like this charge, so if we read through this story. So this is a charge concerning mostly it's a charge relating to the leaked audio that CNN acquired last month.
Mm-hmm.
And then a lot of people had mentioned that the indictments that he was facing earlier weren't about the incidents or like the files that he addressed in those leaked audio files. And so the left was like, okay, well, this is the smoking gun. Like, we got him on this indictment charge. And it's like, well, that indictment charge wasn't related to the stuff that was in the leaked audio file. And in the leaked audio file, there were two different incidents. One of them was he was discussing with a reporter in which he openly says, when I was president, I could have declassified this, but I didn't. And then there's another one, which is much more damning, where he's on video, he's recorded, and Trump is saying to his underlings at his resorts, saying, essentially, let's just get rid of all the evidence that we have this. Just like say that you've lost it, say that you've lost these classified documents, so that we don't have to return it to the federal archives. And then of course this is why he's accused of joining Trump and aid to seek the destruction of the security footage, because basically it's all about this leaked audio where he was like, oh yeah, like, we know it's classified, we know that we're supposed to hand it over, but I just don't want to do it, so just say that you got rid of it.
Yeah.
Like, the audio file was a smoking gun for the left. And, like, the biggest thing against Trump, and it's always been the biggest thing against Trump, is that Trump he's a grandstanding showman, and he always wants to be the talk of the town and the person on the tip of everybody's tongue. And sometimes he likes to be the tip of everybody's tongue too much, and that gets him into trouble because he wants everybody to be talking about him. And when he's no longer president, then people are focusing a little bit less on him. And so he's like, well, look at me. Aren't I special? I have these classified documents and I shouldn't be showing them to you, but I will anyway.
I don't know. Like, they're making a mountain out of a molehill and that. Like, well, but everybody knows it's political. Like, give me a break.
No, the truth is, and this is absolutely undeniable. All three of them, Biden, Hillary, and Trump, should all be in jail for this. Every single one of them.
Chill out. I personally believe, I don't think Trump should go to jail for this. I think he's just trying to. No, in my opinion, I personally believe that he showed the reporter that, so they would get off his ass about going like, oh, he's trying to start a fucking Iraqi war again. He's trying to start an Iraqi war again. Like, dude.
Well, like he did it to the reporter partially because they were saying that he was part of the reason why they were like, why in the past when he was president they were kind of like ribbing Iran and like juring up and like rising tensions. And he's like, well, I wasn't the one who was rising tensions. And yes, it did prove that he wasn't the one rising tensions, but he didn't have to show the reporter the entire classified document going over the war plan and like confidential military material.
Show it to her.
Yes, he did.
He just showed her the parts he needed to show her. I think that's what the audio parts kind of don't show.
Yeah, no, Steven, look, the big thing. Okay, this all comes down to one thing: did he or did he not, as president, have the ability to declassify documents without anything?
No, but that's no longer relevant.
But that's the thing. I know he claimed he didn't declassify it, but but this is all nitpicking.
It's
and they're trying
but it's nitpicking around the law, though.
I know, but like, how do I put it? It's like, imagine like somebody in the Soviet Union, somebody gets caught behind enemy lines. They will try to create any kind of trumped up charge against you, and they'll take anything that they can find and turn it into a massive super justification to throw you behind jail for like decades. China does this currently in the world. Like there was that Christian pastor who was put through the gauntlet, and the Chinese government was basically trying to create charges out of thin air against him, of espionage charges. Oh, you're a foreign spy and all that kind of stuff. This is the stuff that happens in third world countries, but it's happening here. And of course, like for years, and it's not even hidden, Stephen. This is so obvious that this is like completely politically motivated.
Oh, I understand that.
I don't give a at this point. I don't even give a crap if he was guilty of some like little thing or something like that. Like, to be honest, I don't even think it's even like as big of a deal as they're making it. They're trying to make it sound like it's the end of the world when it's not. And at the same time, Hillary Clinton and Joe Biden are completely and totally like, not even remotely looking at any kind of charge.
Oh, I know.
Neither one of them had even the slightest justification for having those documents, because they can't declassify them because they weren't president to neither one of them. Like, give me a break. I know what you're saying. Yeah, you want to analyze this thing on its merits, which I get that you're doing that. But the way I'm looking at this is like, I can't do it because it's so insanely obvious that this is totally a manufactured hoax, trying to make it sound like the end of the world. It's
making it out to be the end of the world, and like I'm not on board with it being the end of the world, but I'm also in favor of saying that we can't have a different standard for people in positions of power and people that aren't in positions of power. This is why I'm like, because they're pursuing Trump and they're not going after Biden or Hillary. Yes, this is a political persecution. This is targeted enforcement of the law, and that is, of course, reprehensible. And while Biden and Hillary remain free, Trump should not be charged in any way.
Not to mention, not even just Biden and Hillary. It's also like every former president.
Yeah.
The president was already set. No former president has ever been charged on this kind of things until they decided to.
Yes.
So everything on the table is showing this. Like, and by the way, you have to remember, this is not in a vacuum. This is after like 4 years of the Russia collusion hoax. After 4 years of the fake impeachment thing. All of this. Yeah.
You continue. Sorry.
Oh, I'm just gonna finish. All of this, it's undeniable. This is political interference. Nobody denies it. Yeah. This is why I'm like, it's the same thing as the struggle sessions. The one thing you never do in a struggle session is to say like, oh, maybe they have a point. Oh, maybe they're onto something. I'm like, no. Yeah. I at this point, I'm like, I don't. At this point, for myself personally, I don't actually care how legitimate this thing is. I'm like, no, I don't care. This is illegitimate. I don't care how good of a case they have. I'm like, no, this is a completely garbage thing that should be thrown out immediately. That's the way I approach it. But what were you gonna say? Consul document.
I was gonna say, if Trump is out of the dog race,
well, they can't take him out of the dog race because of this. They can potentially take him out of the dog race with the indictment because of the accusation of insurrection related to January 6th, which is what they're trying to put on him. Yeah. Because if you have a lingering accusation of insurrection against the United States, then you are not allowed to run for political office if you've been indicted on that crime. So, but I don't think that actually impedes him running for Republican primary. So it could be very interesting because, of course, they're trying to prevent him from running in the Republican and not in the presidential nomination, but they're still willing to basically wait until he becomes the Republican candidate and then say, okay, you can't run.
Yeah.
Well,
It's meant to destabilize the Republican nominee. It's meant to destabilize the Republican Party. And the truth is, like, that most people know that Trump has, I believe the latest polling and the latest figures, Trump has about a 30% chance of beating Biden.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's pretty low. Like,
Actually, he's been growing in popularity lately.
well, no, he's been growing in popularity amongst the Republicans. He hasn't been growing, like, amongst the normal population. In the general election, his chances of winning have gone down.
Mm-hmm. It's complicated. Like there's a difference between how likely you are to win in the primary and then how likely you are to win in the general.
Well, let's just hope to God Biden fucking dies of a stroke then.
Well, we can't hope that. No.
Well,
we hope that there, like, this is what we can hope for. We can hope that there is a focus on election integrity leading up for the next 2 years. We hope that there is a growth and a semblance of sanity in terms of the American populace. And we hope that the Bidens actually face a measure of justice for the corruption and the criminality that they have roped the American people into through their bribery schemes, which we're going to talk about in a little bit.
I hate to say it, Stephen. I genuinely do believe, based on what, like, everything that led up to the Civil War in America, I think that they're heading to a second Civil War.
It's
very
likely.
Yeah.
Well, no, I personally believe that they're not going to indict him for the one that you said, for the June 6th one. And I personally have, it isn't a big feeling, but I personally believe that they're not, because there's been many facts and evidence that he did not intend for this to happen or did not start a rally. Because most of in his speeches, he implied a peaceful, and in his tweet against on Twitter implied it too, because on the BBC interview, he even brought up the tweet that happened like 1 hour after it happened, or like a few minutes after it happened.
Yeah.
That it was
the reason that they're bringing, like, most sane people, pretty much every sane person knows that the charge of insurrection has no merit. The problem, of course, is that this charge is being brought forth. I believe it's being brought forth in Washington, D.C.
That's probably why.
And so in Washington, D.C., a grand jury in Washington, D.C. will undoubtedly indict him.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the key factor.
Fair. Then that's not a fair
Oh, I know.
trial, then.
I know.
Exactly. That's the problem. We're not working in a fair system.
Yeah.
The system is corrupt.
Yes, and it takes time, unfortunately. Like, there's a reason that the courts couldn't overturn the Arizona election of Kari Lake. They couldn't, or Katie Hobbs. They couldn't overturn the election interference and the election issues in the 2020 election. Like, these are things, because justice often takes time.
Yep.
Like, we'll be hearing about the issues and the stuff going on about the 2020 election for years. Yes, like, Rudy Giuliani did just come forth and say that, like, a lot of his efforts in Stop the Steal were partially a Ponzi scheme. So that's problematic. But, like, there's no denying that there were issues in the 2020 election that did lead to serious problems.
Yeah, two things that I always say about the 2020 election and the Arizona one as well is that two things you have to address. One, that people obviously saw cheating and the appearance of cheating, and that's what people are pissed about. Okay, obviously there are things that happen that there is absolutely no way that was like legitimate. Like, for example, in the 2020 election, when they're kicking people out, like poll watchers, they're kicking them out and using completely made up excuses to try to claim that they're oh, it's COVID, like we can't let them out again. That's obviously cheating. That's not even deniable. Okay. The second part is the appearance of impropriety or appearance of cheating. When there was like a water leak, like a water main leak in Georgia, And it came out afterwards like, no, that actually
was a
wasn't
clogged toilet.
It was a clogged toilet, right? That is the appearance of cheating or the appearance of interference of some kind. So you have to address both. The problem is that they tell people to shut up and don't even like you can't even think that this is like, that there was any kind of cheating or impropriety that happened. And that is why people have a legitimate reason to be skeptical and to be very wary of what is going on. Same thing with the system with Trump. You have to remember that we're working in an incredibly fraudulent and incredibly corrupt system because the DOJ is fraudulent. The courts, a lot of those like prosecutors are fraudulent, and they're not.
We're going to address this during our weekly exposure.
Yeah,
so we do have to move on because we're at like 1 hour and 45 already. So let's quickly talk about the last two stories for this. So grateful Kevin Spacey cleared of sex assault charges. This isn't really a huge deal, but this was, of course, the start of the Me Too, one of the starts of the Me Too movement. Jurors at Southwark Crown Court returned not guilty verdicts for 9 sexual offense charges relating to 4 men between 2001 and 2013. Speaking afterwards, Mr. Spacey said he was grateful to the jury as he thanked them for their deliberations, which took more than 12 hours. Outside, the Oscar winner added he was humbled. The U.S. actor is acquitted of 7 counts of sexual assault, 1 count of causing a person to engage in sexual activity without consent, and 1 count of causing a person to engage in penetrative sexual activity with consent. After the verdict was read, he put his hand on his chest to look at the jurors and mouthed "thank you" twice before they left the room. Addressing journalists on the court steps, he said there was a lot for me to process. Like, I don't know enough about Kevin Spacey's story. I know... Yeah, there are questions raised. Like, I have the same kind of, like, response to this as when... Oh, what was it? Alec Baldwin was given the not guilty.
My phone's about to die.
Your phone's about to die?
Yeah, I'm somewhere else right now. But I'll see you guys next stream.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, thanks, man. Appreciate it. Now have a great night.
Yeah.
You too.
Okay. Yeah, so, like, this is part of the problem when those who have positions of power and those in kind of prominence can escape justice. Because by all accounts, every relevant individual that was speaking up regarding this case, Kevin Spacey was fairly clearly involved in some fairly serious incidents of sexual misconduct. So just to hear that he basically had not guilty on all counts it raises some serious eyebrows. But
no,
let's
is it possible he may be
it's totally possible.
Absolutely. But also
it raises some serious eyebrows too.
Absolutely.
But of course, if you have a different opinion, then feel free to say so in the comments.
Absolutely.
So
okay,
let's
last
address
story,
this.
and I'm gonna get you to go just straight to the video. So this is a video. Of course, this is a guy I really like. What's his name? High Tree. I forget his name. But he was interviewing a guy from England who was giving us some very interesting and again we keep getting like this stuff keeps pouring out.
Yeah.
But some interesting numbers that I want you to keep listen to because I'm like, this is crazy.
There's something going on in the general population that's reaccelerating something. And anecdotally, I don't have the data yet, but I'm hearing from some of my insurance whistleblowers that their short-term and long-term disability numbers are accelerating again. They're having panic meetings about it, but they most times they don't mention the obvious elephant in the room. They see excess deaths amongst the millennials 25 through 44 in their group life insurance continuing at abnormally high rates, around 23-24% excess mortality. So whatever's going on, we all know what we think it is. Whatever's going on is a disaster. There's something going on in the...
It's crazy, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's like younger people, of course. We kind of touched on this on Tuesday.
Yep.
But
pretty much same exact reasoning, because we talked about on Tuesday how there was a 30% increase in heart attacks amongst those 25 to 44. Like, yeah, there's an elephant in the room, and certain people don't want us talking about it. And we've been talking about it. We've been bringing it up for months. I would say we've now been bringing it up for coming on 2 years. And it's only now becoming more of like culturally acceptable to talk about these issues publicly without being immediately castigated and attacked.
Here's the problem. Is that there's a ton of data out there that you have to put it this way. Even like the requirement for a person to claim something like vaccine injury is insanely high. You have to have mountains of evidence, like, at your disposal at a moment's notice. But it's you're basically asking people to not believe what is obvious. The appearance of harm is everywhere. What was like here? Like one number that he said. There's an additional 4.2 million disabled Americans than 2.5 years ago, which is massive. There's total medical claims and clearances are up 76.7% above trend in the UK, and the hematological blood-related disorders are up 522% above the trend in the UK. These are abnormally high numbers.
Yeah.
So you just it's like the evidence is there. Obviously, something's happening. One of the things I'm finding amazing, and by the way, this is like you see it everywhere, is that COVID gives people plausible deniability. It's like when it would be otherwise obvious that the jibby jabs are responsible, the people always come back and say like, well, how do you know it wasn't COVID? Well, how do you know it wasn't COVID? How do you know? Like, it was obvious. Something crazy and bizarre and totally out of the question is happening, and people always say like, oh, it's COVID. COVID's that. It's always COVID. It's like the ultimate get out of jail free card for the media and everywhere else. So, if you believe that this is like clearly an epidemic of like injuries, you're not alone, and you're not crazy for thinking that. The evidence is out there. It's just difficult to parse through all the mountains of data out there. But you're not crazy for thinking that this is crazy. Right, Steven?
Yep. I am just messaging back and forth between somebody.
No, gotcha.
So
I never know when you're busy.
Oh,
or
I know,
you're not.
I know. All right, but let's also check out this other video. So it's also from the same. Well, this is there a timestamp you want for this?
What's this one?
This one's the 22-minute one.
Can you go up? No, I mentioned that. If you actually go here, if you go down, where's it? Go to the part that says, here are some worrisome numbers to increase claims and clearances above trend 2022. No, go up. Where's it? Go up higher. There, right there, that chart. Go to show more. No, close this. Go to show more. Right there. Here's some of the. This is based on UK numbers.
Worrisome numbers of increased claims and clearances above trend in 2022. So hematological issues up 522%. Dermatological is up 138. Endocrine up 156. Neurological up 107. Psychiatric of 124.
Yeah.
Cardiovascular. It's actually surprising that cardiovascular is only up 121 compared to hematological. So interesting. I would have thought cardiovascular would be up higher
because that's one of the major things that hits people when it comes to this stuff. Yeah. I agree with you. But it's makes you wonder why hematological is up so high, though.
Yes, it does. Oh yeah, for sure.
So all stuff you have to look into, but just so you know, it's getting worse. It's not going away. These injuries, remember what they said? We're not gonna know the full scale of the damage years later. Well, it's years later.
Yeah,
we're starting to see some of the.
We're starting to see some of these things. All right,
unbelievable. All right, last story, man.
Well, no, this is the weekly exposure.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yep. So, weekly exposure. Let's talk about Hunter Biden. Judge says member of Hunter Biden's legal team misrepresented her identity on eve of plea deal hearing. So the judge who will review Hunter Biden's plea deal on Wednesday accused a member of Biden's legal team of misrepresenting herself on a phone call to the court. Oh, it was a phone call, not an email. Bizarre episode that prompted the judge to threaten sanctions even as Biden's lawyers insisted it was all a misunderstanding. In a brief order Tuesday afternoon, District Court Judge Mary Ellen Noreika wrote that an employee at Latham & Watkins, the law firm representing the president's son, called the court's clerk's office and falsely claimed to work for a Republican lawyer in the hopes of persuading the clerk to remove documents that apparently contained Biden's personal tax information. Latham denied any misconduct, saying the firm's employee identified herself as a Latham staffer and called from a firm law firm phone that typically displays Latham on the caller ID. The firm said there must have been unfortunate and unintentional miscommunication between the employee and court staff.
Plausible deniability.
Yeah,
That's how you do it.
Documents in question had been submitted earlier in the day as part of an amicus brief by the House Ways and Means. And the Smith complains in the brief that Biden's plea deal on gun and tax charges is too lenient and that he alleges that federal prosecutors' investigation of Biden was tainted by political interference. Under the plea deal, he has agreed to plead guilty to 2 misdemeanor tax charges and enter a pretrial diversion program in order to avoid being prosecuted for a felony gun charge. Heretic. Oh! Hey! So this is a guy that I think I met today on Twitter.
Oh, okay.
And I believe, Heretic, you're from the UK. I think.
Could be.
Hang on. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, this is Heretic. Yes, I'm from the UK.
Marvelous.
Oh, that is such an amazing UK accent. I love it. I love it.
UK, well, yeah, considering she's from the UK, I should hope so.
I mean, that's pretty much proof right there that she's from the UK. It's like, well, there it is, the UK accent. You don't need no credentials for this one.
Yes, no credentials. Anyway, so this is the first time that you've actually heard about this. So once a month, Heretic, we do an open mic night. So we invite everybody and anybody who wants to join, and they can all kind of espouse their opinions, give what they say, what they have to say, and we can also talk about whatever you want to talk about.
That's right.
So if we disagree, then feel free to interject, and we'll happily have a conversation about it.
Yeah, this is basically the Shrewd Dudes IRL.
Yes.
It's Simcast IRL. An open discussion about whatever we're talking about.
And we're all, so yes, Danny and I, so the two hosts, we're both from Calgary, Canada.
Yep.
Conquerworm is from Texas, and of course you are from the UK, so it's interesting to have kind of across the pond conversations.
That's right.
And you were up surprisingly early. Okay, first off, what wakes you up at 5 in the morning?
Oh, dog walking. I've got a few minutes till it gets light, and then I've got to walk the monsters.
It's all good. Good to have you.
Good to have you. All right, so right now every Thursday we do a couple different segments. So right now we're doing a segment called the Weekly Exposure. So we're talking about the recent kind of revelations about the Hunter Biden plea deal and investigations regarding that, and how his plea deal has been rejected, or he's no longer offering to plead guilty because the judge essentially highlighted that the plea deal would offer him immunity for future crimes, which is questionable, to say the least. So
it sounds like his legal team had a massive whoops moment, and the fear is that he's gonna that this is gonna end up with him getting a more serious charge. We'll see. We'll see. I mean, he is the darling, and nobody touches the golden boy.
Nobody touches him.
Never.
So this is partially why he was going to on Wednesday. He was going to enter a guilty plea, but now, of course, he's entering a not guilty plea after the deal falls apart. This is from CBS News. So a plea agreement between federal prosecutors and Hunter Biden fell apart Wednesday after the judge refused to sign off on a deal that we'd have seen the president's son enter guilty pleas to 2 misdemeanor tax charges and enter a diversion program in lieu of pleading guilty to a felony gun possession count. After the deal collapsed, he entered a not guilty plea. The judge, Mary Ellen Noreika, deferred the decision on the plea deal, saying that you're telling me to rubber stamp the agreement. The parties have 14 days to brief her, and the ruling could now be delayed for weeks. Earlier in the hearing, she questioned Biden on topics ranging from his history of addiction to his business ventures, both foreign and domestic. And I don't know why they detail what he's wearing. But okay, sure. He appeared visibly frustrated as she deferred the agreement.
He was also chewing a stick of gum. You know, I think it was spearmint. You know, no, wrong. It was double mint gum. You know, I definitely remember that. Very important details.
Yeah. So after the deal appeared to break down, the prosecutors and defense attorneys took 3 separate breaks to huddle and discuss ways forward. Inside the courtroom, Hunter Biden's attorney, Christopher Clark, at one point blurted out, "This was all negotiated." I don't know what you're trying to accomplish, Clark said, speaking to prosecutors. "We'll rip it up." The effort was, in essence, a high-stakes negotiation in real time with a federal judge and gallery full of reporters standing by. It failed.
Dang.
So this is interesting.
Do you think this is going to get some repercussions?
Let's see. CBS. Do they mention immunity? Not once. Not once do they bring up. Wow. It's called that one, but unfortunately predictable. Unfortunately predictable.
I mean, what do you expect from CBS?
I know. So, Conqueror, how are you feeling about all this?
Well, I liked how KJP changed the language to try to
yes.
What did she say? I didn't hear about that. What happened?
She said that he's not part of the business, right?
Yes.
So it kind of separates it. And she's like, I've talked about this before, and nothing has changed. And then she changed the wording.
Yes, because they had always said up until this point that Joe Biden knew nothing about his son's business deals, and now what they're saying is Joe Biden is not involved in the business in business, or he's not in business with Hunter Biden. It's like
when the lie doesn't work,
sure,
the lie.
Change the lie.
Well, wasn't there a thing that came out like today, or at least in the last couple of days, where it was like made obvious that okay, so Joe Biden said during like the debates with Trump that my son has never
talked to me about
no that my son has never gained any money from the Chinese government.
Yes,
and then recently it came out that like no, he actually got like I think it was like $600,000 from a Chinese government company or something like that.
Yeah.
And so now they're like, whoops.
Well, it also came out last week. So one of the big revelations from last week was, of course, during the debates, Biden was saying, "I've never discussed business with my son."
Yes.
And then there was a back and forth in Congress, I believe it was, during one of these Ways and Means hearings.
Yep.
And one of the speakers in defense of Biden was like, I think he said something, he's like, well, Biden spoke to his son on multiple affairs, but he did not profit from this. It's like, okay, but
goalposts, classic.
That changed things, didn't it?
Yeah, the goalposts.
So yeah, like it's little by little, kind of showcasing what's actually going on. It's very difficult to to proceed in an orderly fashion towards, oh, this is what actually happened. Because everything is a lot of obfuscation, and of course now with this whistleblowers about the Department of Justice. And this trial. Like when the idea from Judge Noreka, and she asked, is this going to provide immunity for Hunter Biden going forward? And the prosecutor said yes. And the defendant said yes. The prosecutor said, no, it's not. It's not doing that. And it's like, and he reportedly, apparently, like, stood up emphatically. He's like, no, it's not.
I think this is the first time I've heard of an actual corruption scheme not going according to plan. Seriously, like everything else.
I know. Like, I get what you're saying. Yeah.
Cocaine gate. They just literally like, well, it'll just stay a mystery.
We have not found any information, any evidence to link it to one specific person. Sure,
that was
you haven't.
How do you pull that off and like making people believe that was legit?
Mm-hmm.
So this is actually the first time I'm like, wow, something can actually go their way. Like, system is not completely corrupt everywhere.
Yes,
it's like there's hope somewhere.
But we do have to kind of finish off. So we're going to quickly watch the video, and then we'll have a discussion, and then if Heretic wants to bring up a topic, then let's go for it.
Steven, which video are we going to watch?
We will see.
Oh, okay. Not like
So
you
the
gave it away at the beginning.
Well, no, I didn't, because I muted myself.
That's true. That's true. I forgot about that.
So please enjoy this resurfaced footage of Vivek Ramaswamy rapping Eminem in college with the stage name Davek.
Could I love him more?
This is funny, so let's watch.
If you had
Oh my gosh.
one opportunity, you better lose yourself in the music the moment you own it. You better never let it go. You only get one shot, do not push your chance to blow. This opportunity comes once in a lifetime. You better lose yourself.
He's missing the lyrics, but okay.
The moment you own it, you better never let it go. You only get one shot, do not push your chance to blow. This opportunity comes once in a lifetime.
No, if I had to choose between him or Blackface, Mr. Blackface, I would.
It's pretty obvious.
Him. It's pretty obvious. I mean,
It's pretty obvious, but that's just funny. It's always somewhat entertaining when you find old footage of politicians just having silly moments.
It's amazing. Like the more I hear about Vivek, the more I like him. I cannot say that enough. How much I really like this guy.
There is a lot to say in terms of positives to go for Vivek. But
at this point, I would love it if he actually was able to snag the nomination, but also the presidency. He would be fantastic.
He would be pretty good. Okay, so right now we are at 2 hours and 5 minutes, and so now we're going to just open up the floor. And so, Heretic, you are our newest guest. Is there a topic you want to talk about?
Actually, before I go into Stephen, I want to ask Heretic. You're in England. How did you hear about us? That's what I'm curious about.
She didn't hear about us. We got involved in the same kind of conversation.
Oh.
About Matt Walsh, actually.
Yeah, that's actually what I wanted to talk about.
Of course.
I'm full disclosure. I'm left wing. Well, kind of centrist, but left wing.
No problem.
You got a Tim Pool situation. Tim Pool.
But, kind of traditional left wing is as in I'm socially left wing. I believe in rights for lesbian and gay people, and probably fiscally a bit more conservative because no Labour government yet has ever
had a balanced
managed
budget.
not to bankrupt the country.
Yep.
And that's quite important in the scheme of things, although the Conservatives aren't doing brilliantly at the moment. But what's worrying me at the moment is the nasty authoritarianism coming through from the left at the moment, and it's frightening. Yep. It really is.
Are you talking about the authoritarianism in England or in the States?
Or just all around the world?
All around the world. It's happening everywhere. I'm noticing it because of women's rights conversations, and if you say the wrong things, that's it. You're anathema. But it's happening over and over. It's just happened visibly with Nigel Farage over here in his bank account. And I don't think that people should be allowed to operate social credit systems whereby banks or other businesses can say, right, we will not deal with you because we don't like your views, provided your views are legal. I mean, obviously, if you're inciting violence and things, that's a different matter. But provided your views are protected within the law, then I don't think businesses should have the right to deplatform you or debank you or anything else. And I speaking from a left-wing perspective, I find it absolutely terrifying.
You strike me as what they call a disaffected liberal.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's a fair description.
Yeah, that's a very common phrase here in Canada. There's a lot of people who were considered themselves liberals from 10 years ago. The Liberal Party of Canada is no longer liberal. It is now more like a communist kind of party in the ways that they operate and the policies that they pursue, to the point where a lot of people who still believe is liberal are like, wait, why are they like doing this? Why are they doing that? Like they can't understand. And it sounds like your government probably. You said you had what are the two parties, conservative and
And Labour.
Labour.
That's right, the Labour Party.
Yeah.
It sounds like, have they both moved really far to the left, like collectively? Like,
well, yes, but part of the Conservatives have moved further to the right. I think we've got a few what I would refer to as nutters. Yeah. I mean, they are a bit bonkers, but there aren't very many of them on the whole. I mean, our Conservatives are probably round about where the Dems are in the States. You know, they're not that right wing on the whole.
No. Here in Canada,
we have very similar.
Where we have the Conservative Party here in Canada is not that conservative, especially nowhere near as conservative as even the Republicans in the United States. But there are conservative members of Parliament that are that line up to where we would be, or closer to where we would be. But most of the MPs in the Conservative Party of Canada are nowhere near where we are.
Well, most of the MPs would actually be, most of the Conservative Party of Canada MPs, at least the more prominent ones, would be exactly as you describe yourself, Heretic. Like the MP that's in my district, she's the most prominent Conservative MP in the country. Her name is Michelle Rempel Garner, and she is fiscally conservative, but she is socially liberal, and she has said that her social policies align with those of Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
And but she has also moved a little bit further, because she has often said about how, because she aligns with the liberals on the kind of the gender talks. And
she's very socially, rabidly, very liberal.
Yes.
In her views, So that shows you that even though in name they're conservative, but they're not really conservative at all. They're conservative in name only, like Sinos. Sinos over here.
They're Cylons.
Yeah, that's right. Now, one thing I will say is that it sounds like, and maybe you can tell me, Heretic, if this is true, based on what I'm hearing, is obviously Italy is having a very big backlash from the populace. They went back to a more conservative government. Spain sounds like it's heading towards a very conservative backlash, like a government that's going to be the first major conservative push there. Sweden elected a more right-wing government. It sounds like Germany is heading towards
leaning towards that direction. Yeah,
leaning towards getting a more right-wing kind of party as well. And it sounds like England, a lot of people are really pushing back against a lot of the left-wing, out-of-control left-wing policies. I think is the best way that they can put it. Particularly the out-of-control, rampant open borders. Because from what I understand, England has a massive problem. People are just streaming across the Bay of, what's it called? The English
Channel.
The English Channel. And they're just coming across and they're welcoming them with open arms. What are the major things that you believe that are causing the most damage in England as far as the authoritarianism?
I think the fact that we appear to have uncritically taken on a lot of American Democrat views, so the prevailing wisdom, if you like, and it's taken over sort of arts, publishing, media, and large corporates to an extent. Is that if you express any form of view saying that, look, I believe in controlled immigration and I believe in helping people who genuinely need help. I don't believe in just saying, let's leave the door open. Now that apparently, makes me a Nazi bigot, and I'm not.
That's what we've all been called that in our day.
It's sort of, well,
it's like
I forget exactly.
Nowadays.
Yeah, well, I forget exactly who's. No, it was. Dang it! It was a prominent, conservative talking, conservative commentator. I'm trying to remember her name. She came to Calgary once, and it created this huge firestorm.
Is that that lady from Germany?
No. Like, this was back in 2016. She came to Calgary. And she was one of the first ones, and they asked her, who is the most likely to win the Republican primary, and she's like, Donald Trump.
Oh, I know who you're talking about.
I'm trying to remember her name.
The declared candidates, Donald Trump. Yeah,
yes.
I know who you're
I'm
talking
trying
about.
to, yeah.
I don't remember her name though.
Yes,
What-
I don't
what
remember
was
her
it?
name at the moment. But she basically said in one of her speeches, she's like, if the modern left calls you a racist, that's a clear-cut sign that you've won the argument.
Mhm.
Because a lot of these individuals, when they jump to these names, when they jump to these accusations and grandiose assertions based on very little no evidence at all, then you've won the argument because they just do not have a rebuttal for you, and all they're doing is just shoving whatever they can that sticks.
Yeah, that's very true. The name calling is, and they don't like it when you just laugh at them. It has to be said. I do quite a bit of that.
Oh, I've done it too.
Yeah,
but it's thought terminating. That's what annoys me. I mean, we're getting to the point where people are saying, "Well, you can't read this book because it's X, Y, Z." Well, I'm a big believer in learning from history.
Yes.
All of history, and I'm a big believer in not rewriting history with modern perspectives.
Yeah.
I think we need to own it. We did what we did. Some of it was good. Some of it was
terrible.
Awful.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely awful.
Heretic. One thing I would recommend. Have you heard of a guy named James Lindsay?
Yes.
Okay. Have you listened to? No. It's one of the best things I can give people because it's okay. Like James Lindsay, the New Discourses. Have you listened to his podcast and what he talks about?
No, I haven't actually. I've read some of his things he's written, but I haven't listened to him.
If you listen to podcasts, or even if you like YouTube videos, he has a podcast called the New Discourses. Okay, the New Discourses. He basically goes through. He has some long form like video or things like an hour long. Sometimes they're short, like they're like 15 minutes. But it is for me. I've listened to tons of commentators that keep you up to date on a lot of these things. A lot of them give you a lot of really good kind of like things to look for and to watch for. He's by far one of the most incredible people to help you understand what is actually going on, and that he basically shows you what's underneath the hood is the best way I can describe it. He shows you here's what they're doing, here's the strategy, here's how it works, and here's how they convince you that they're not doing anything. And it's been one of the most incredibly helpful podcasts I've ever watched. I learned about the tactics that they use when they debate you. I've learned about things like, for example, cancel culture. Cancel culture is nothing more than a repackaged form of a Maoist Chinese struggle session.
Yeah.
He goes through the comparisons and he explains in beautiful detail, this is exactly how it works. And this is what you do. And this is how you overcome it. Because the whole point is that they're trying to essentially break your spirit so that you will refuse to fight. And he teaches you how to fight it. So I would absolutely recommend. He is by far one of the most incredible, most helpful intellectuals for me personally, in helping me understand how to fight back against what's going on and how to help people around you understand that, you're not crazy. This is intentional and this is on purpose.
That's really cool. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for that. I will look for that. I'm going to have to go now and walk the dogs, but thank you ever so much for inviting me. It was really, really cool, and it's really nice hearing you. Thanks a lot.
I'll let you know, because we of course do this once a month, so I'll let you know when the next one is planned.
Yeah,
and we would love to have you discuss a whole host of topics.
Yeah,
thanks very much.
And feel free to invite anyone you want. This is open for a whole host of ideas and a whole host of people, because we want to have that healthy dialogue across a variety of opinions.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
Yeah, you too.
Bye.
Bye.
What a polite lady.
I know. She was just lovely.
Definitely UK.
All right. So we've been going for nearly 2.5 hours. Conqueror, any last points you'd like to make before we shut her down for the evening?
Things you wanted to talk about?
Apophis.
Messiah 2023.
Messiah 2023. All right, let's go for
no, it's 2030 is the name of the
2030.
documentary.
Yes.
That's awesome.
All right. So, for those who've been watching and joining on the live stream, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. If you want to watch the rest of our videos or other content, you can check us out on YouTube, ButChute, and Rumble. Of course, YouTube is only for our kind of non-censored conversations.
Look who's back.
Yeah, it turns out I thought it would take longer than that, but I'm just driving home right now, honestly.
Oh, you joined basically right before we had somebody from the UK join and have a long, interesting conversation.
It was really good. I was like, I'm like, oh, what a sweet lady.
And you missed out on the whole thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was fun.
Can you summarize it for me?
Well,
it was just talking about video. Yeah, you'll see it when it's uploaded. So
yeah, it was a good conversation with
and
her.
We'll try and have her back for future episodes of our open mic night. So we should hopefully...
sounded like maybe like an older lady that probably in her 40s, 50s, maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe 30s. I don't know.
Honestly, the UK has been super strict on their laws now.
Some of them, yes.
That's what she was saying.
Yeah. Anyways, so continuing on. If you want to check out our other commentary, you can check us out at theshrewdzoos.com or on our text platforms at Facebook, Twitter, and Getter.
Get her done.
Get her done. So, before we pass by and end it for the weekend, we want to thank our guests. So we want to, of course, thank Console Document, Conquer Worm, and our newest guest, Heretic, because it was a great conversation. We had lots of varied points coming back and forth, and of course, everyone remained very civil because that's what we do here.
It's a good way to go.
But before we sign off, Danny, sign us out.
Hi, I'm Senior Sweetness, one of the two iconic members of the Shrewd Dudes. And we always like to remind you, why be rude when you can be shrewd instead? Thank you for watching and listening. We'll see you on Tuesday for our Tuesday News Day. Until then, have a wonderful weekend. Go out and have some mojitos. Go out and have some fun with your friends. And as always, God bless.
All right. See you on Tuesday.